Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. Today we are using semicolons and you're going to be a black belt in under 10 minutes. So, semicolons are something that your English teacher's always impressed to see you use, and this might be the reason for it. Here's the GCSE marking criteria for writing when your teacher went to school. Top level students may even use semicolons. So you could be a top level student in your writing, and in old money you could be achieving an A star without even using a semicolon. And it was considered the most challenging of the punctuation marks to use. So if students were using them, it was a good way of concluding that they were confident in using a full range of punctuation marks. And that's why it's got prestige. It's still considered a really challenging use of punctuation. And the reason for that is that it has to link two independent clauses, two sentences that could make sense in their own right, but are closely linked. Now, you don't have to use them in your own lives. It's a stylistic choice. And some of the best modern writers, like George Orwell, wrote entire novels without using one. But your hardwired teachers who mark your assessments will tend to be impressed when they see one or two in a piece of writing. Show you can use them to be on the safe side. Having a semicolon black belt makes you a punctuation master. I do use them myself, but they're not my favourite punctuation mark. My favourite punctuation mark is the dash. And you can see two there in the piece of writing that I've provided for you. The reason I like it gives an extended pause, and it's almost impossible to get it wrong. So it's one that you can use when you're writing quickly and you're under pressure without too much fear of getting its use wrong. So let's now think about carefully why we actually use a semicolon. We know what one looks like. We know why your teachers are impressed by them. Now let's get our heads around when we actually use them to impress. Okay, we need to use them, firstly, to join sentences that are closely related. So here we've got an example of two sentences that are about the same thing. I love having a cup of coffee in the morning. I can't function without a hot drink. So those two sentences are very closely related. And in the middle, where the full stop is, that could actually be the word and. So that's what that looks like. Now, I love having a cup of coffee in the morning and I can't function without a hot drink. Now, because they're very closely related and they could have the word and instead of the full stop, that would work as a semicolon. So you can replace the full stop for a semicolon in that circumstance. So as a rule of thumb, if the full stop can be replaced with the word and both sentences make sense on their own, you can use a semicolon. Here's an example of where you've got a clause that isn't an independent clause. So this wouldn't quite work. I love having a cup of coffee in the morning and always do. On its own, always do isn't a sentence. It doesn't make sense in its own right. So it's not an independent clause. It's dependent on the rest of the sentence. So for that reason, a semicolon there would be used incorrectly. Now for you to be black belt level, this use of semicolon isn't often seen in writing, but it helps to make a list a bit clearer if you've written one and you're getting a comma overload. So in this sentence that I provided for you here, you can see that just using commas in this list complicates things. I went to the shops and bought apples, my favourite thing, pears, lovely things, a hammer and cheese. Now in that sentence, what I mean is apples, they're my favourite thing. I bought pears, lovely things, a hammer and cheese. Now, because of the way that the commas are working, it looks like my favourite thing is another item in the list rather than something that's modifying apples. So this doesn't quite work. It's clumsy. Pears, lovely things, love a pear, but that doesn't look confident. It's ambiguous. So, and I don't want that in my sentence. So what I can do is use semicolons to tidy things up. Here's what that looks like now. That makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more comfortable. I went to the shops and bought apples, my favourite thing, pears, lovely things, a hammer and cheese. So now, because commas were complicating matters, semicolons I've used just as an extra tool to make that a little bit more tidy and to help it make sense to my reader. To finish, you are going to earn your black belt. And in this task, you're going to use semicolons for those two different reasons. One, to join two sentences that could be sentences in their own right, but are about the same thing, and also to write a list. So here's what the task involves. Firstly, and this can be a paragraph if you'd like it to be, describe walking through a park and use a semicolon somewhere. It doesn't have to be a huge page-long story. Let's just introduce a setting. Then you're going to find a handbag. So that can be another paragraph if you want. You're going to spot a handbag, walk up to it, pick it up. And then at the end of this new paragraph, open the handbag and you're going to tell me tell yourself rather what's inside it. But you can put that in the comments if you want to. But you're going to write a list using semicolons explaining what you find in the bag. Okay, check out the videos on my channel. I'll continue to add content and feel free to ask for something you'd like to see me cover in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell and share, and keep revising.